ACL. There's the news. Official. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Deeper dive. Don't adjust those dials. The better looking version of Dave Lochran is here. We've got an 8-game slate. Myself and Adam going to break this one down. Adam, what's going on, man?
How's it going? Sunny gray slate, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Sonny Gray at a crisp 9,100. If he was ever going to get 10K, today would have been that day.
Yeah, man, it's stupid. EMAC looked it up on the early bird, though. I think he faces the Padres in his next start, so I have a chance.
Okay. Anytime you can price Mike Fiers $400 more than him, though, you definitely have to do it.
Right. They're trolling me at this point. Like, I'm convinced that everything they do just revolves around me, and they're not going to let me get my $250.
The good thing is, it's a non-zero chance that someone is trolling you. Like, it could happen. There could certainly be someone in the industry at DraftKings that is just like, oh, by the way, we can't put Sonny Gray north of 9,900.
Yeah, I don't think I've pissed off anyone there enough for that. But
only one way to find out down the line, when it's September 30th and someone sends you a DM like, yo, you were never going to win that bet. Anyway, that is not why we're here. We are here to talk baseball on the Deeper Dive. And if you want to sign up at awesemo.com, get yourself 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher, all of the content that we have to offer, whether that's individual sport packages or our all-access packages. Just use the promo code DeeperDive, one big word, and you can get 50% off that first month of Awesemo Plus. And the Deeper Dive, as always, is brought to you by Yahoo Sports. I'm going to drop the link to EMAC Spotlight Hitters article into the chat right now at some point in time when I find it. There are some instructions in that article if you're looking to sign up at Yahoo. EMAC does a good job of laying out what you would need to do. You could use the promo code AWESEMO when signing up. Get yourself $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Link is dropped into the chat now. You're not going to be playing 150 max contests. It's just a 10 max, no management fee contest every single day for baseball. They're running a no management fee millionaire contest for Yahoo on the first weekend of the NFL season. Now, it's $1 million total prize pool, not to first, but just a really fantastic contest, $25 entry fee. So if you do want to sign up and use that promo code, $30 worth of Yahoo Sports rewards points, that gets you one entry into that contest. You really can't beat it. So highly recommended you check it out from the link that I dropped in the chat. Josh with the first day of school haircut in effect. Kind of. Sorry, guys. I got a haircut today. You know, you leave that one out there for yourself for a day, and then you go back to hats every morning. But if someone's going to do my hair for me earlier in the day, it's never going to look any better than this. So got to put it out into the public. 8 games. Do we have any weather issues?
Not that I've seen.
Is that because you haven't looked?
I'm double checking. But... No, I mean, I looked earlier. Okay. I don't know if anything's changed.
Nothing crazy. A little bit of water in Seattle, Detroit, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, that game was earlier anyway.
That'll work. Yankees and Indians, here we go. 5.8 run implied total for the Yanks, 4.8 for the Indians, 59% chance to win for New York. I've got Nestor Cortez as the long man. Is that going to be the case?
Seems likely, okay. But
long is relative.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that he comes in sometime earlier than the 7th or whatever the hell he came in 2-3 days ago. But Nestor Cortez, Adam Plutko going for the Indians. Neither guy projecting to get any real ownership. I guess Cortez is the only guy we probably need to talk about. Do you have any interest in Cortez?
No. He just, it's not like he's a true long guy. The Yankees have a bunch of guys that they can, use to mess with him. It's a tough matchup against Cleveland. I don't see a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think there's even a guarantee that it's him. So.
See, the 4K price tag is interesting. It's just today just isn't the day where it matters. If the most expensive pitcher is Yu Darvish at 9,700, and we're certainly not super enamored in that.
If for some reason you have to go that cheap at SP2, just take the guy that threw 101 pitches in his most recent start and is 4,800.
Right. Completely agree. Yeah, I have very little interest here in Cortez. I wouldn't be surprised if I got like 3 or 4% just because of running lineups, but it's not going to be a day where there's a lot of them. And I can't imagine either one of us want Plutko.
No, really, really tough spot for Plutko. Not particularly up a ton of power. Didi is a really, really good play. Judge, of course, is still a top value. Gary Sanchez is a top catcher option. We're starting to slowly get, well, I guess it's not even the lineup is better than it has been, but Aaron Boone just put it together really weird. So, like, you have Gleyber Torres sitting seventh. It makes the lineup a little bit deeper. It probably lowers Torres's ownership, which is appealing in tournaments.
Yeah. I can't really figure it out, but ownership is weird. Judge Gregorius Sanchez from 12 to 18%. Nobody else with a ton of ownership, but the Yankees still coming out third overall. How do you feel about it? Is this a team that you expect to get a lot of? Second highest implied total on the slate.
I think I'll get there. I wouldn't be surprised if I just get a lot of variations where, like, I leave out one of Judge, Sanchez, or Didi, because it makes sense that, like, DJ LeMahieu is going to have relatively low ownership because he's expensive. Same goes for Urshela. Same goes for Gardner. Torres, again, he's expensive and batting seventh. Talkman's expensive. So there are a lot of guys on this team that I don't expect to have a lot of ownership. But I also think that Judge, Didi, and Sanchez are probably three of the highest owned players on the slate. So if you're just going like, okay, Judge, Gregorius, Sanchez, and then plug in, like Urshela, LeMahieu, or whatever, you're going to get a lot of the same stacks as everyone else. But if you just leave one of those guys out, you have a pretty contrarian Yankee stack.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's really hard to get away from the Yankees when they have these monster run totals, particularly in New York against a guy like Plutko, who is just really not good. I mean, that might even be I might even be selling him short of his lack of talent. 365 x WOBA to lefties over the past 2 years. 303 to righties, which is not bad, but still a ton of power. 221 x ISO. He's going to be in for a long night or a quick night, I guess.
Yeah. He might be watching the rest of the game after like the third inning.
Yeah. So the one piece I really want to talk about, do you have interest in the Indians bats? They're getting no ownership whatsoever, but they are really appealing to me.
I think they're mildly appealing. They're not super cheap, like the guys that I would want. Lindor's $5K, Santana's $5K, Puig and Ramirez are relatively expensive. Franmil Reyes is affordably priced, but he's hitting seventh. I did see someone tweet out a stat on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't a DFS person, but someone tweeted out that a huge percentage of Reyes' home runs this year have been to center field or right field. I just thought that was kind of interesting, since that, like, we know Yankee Stadium plays really well for left-handed power, but if Reyes tends to hit home runs the other way, it's a really favorable park for him.
Absolutely, and he is at 1% ownership, 3,900 on DK, 29 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo. I like him across the board. I'm going to have a decent amount of the Indians if they are completely unowned. There's a lot more power in this lineup now that they have Puig and Reyes. It's a very different offense, and now Ramirez is back.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
You also get a nice value play with Greg Allen hitting second.
Yeah. $3,600 outfielder, $100 above the minimum on FanDuel. Favorite bat in this entire game?
Sanchez, when you factor in position, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. And then
catcher's actually kind of strong today, so maybe Didi.
Okay. Let's keep it moving. Unless you have anything else here.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Phillies and Cubs, 4.4 run implied total for the Phils, 5.2 for the Cubs. News coming in right now. First, we'll get to the starters. Drew Smyly going for Philly. Yu Darvish going for the Cubs. Darvish, chalky, 35% owned on Yahoo, 12 on FanDuel, 22 on DK. Not as chalky as Drew Smyly, 30 on Yahoo, 13 on FanDuel, and 42% on DraftKings. We just got news right as we started the show. Javi Baez scratched from the Cubs lineup, so certainly getting a little bit worse. We need to start with Drew Smyly's ownership. How do you feel about Smyly at 42% against the Cubs in Philadelphia?
That's pretty crazy to me. I was all about it in San Francisco the other day when he was like 5,800. Didn't work out, but it's still a totally different spot. Baez being out does make the lineup weaker, but outside of a reasonable strikeout percentage, Smyly doesn't really do anything well. He still gives up home runs. He still walks guys. And now you're in a park that plays up power. He still has to deal with Castellanos, Bryant, Happ, Bodie, Caratini, and Almora, all from the right side. Most of those guys with reasonable power. Rizzo's good against left-handed pitching. Like, the only guy in this lineup the only two guys in this lineup that you look at and it's like, okay, that should be the matchups probably in Smiley's favor are Schwarber and Yu Darvish. So I just think it's a really dangerous spot. I can see the appeal on DraftKings and Yahoo. I mean, I did write Smiley up in the deep dive article, but it's just a price play. It's not that I think he comes out of this looking very good all that often. It's just that the value pitching isn't very good. So I can understand why people get there, but if he is going to be that popular, I just think there's a lot more edge to being on the Cubs or taking a chance on a different cheap pitcher than getting the Smiley.
I'm totally with you. I understand how it's happening, and I guess people are going to feel a little bit better now that Baez is out. He was probably not going to be a good thing for Drew Smiley today, but 42%? What is the likelihood that Drew Smiley beats me today?
Right. That has to come down, I would think, though.
I mean,
maybe not.
I hope it doesn't. I'd rather it stay there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get close to that.
No, neither am I. So where do we transition that sort of ownership? Because it's not Payano, that much I know. It's not going to be Smeltzer or Plutko, so Walker, Rodriguez, just way more than what they're getting?
Probably. I haven't crunched yet. I would guess that I get to some Rodriguez just because he's so cheap. Yeah. Maybe just not really ending up in that price range either, though. I mean, there are some expensive bats on the slate, but there's a lot of good value too. So, maybe just getting more Sonny Gray, getting more Yu Darvish, getting more, Alex Young or Aaron Sanchez or Heaney, like whoever your third favorite pitcher on the slate is, and just hoping that all these cheap guys don't come through. Because one thing that's different when you talk about an 8-game slate compared to a 14 or 15-game slate is it's become pretty common knowledge now that you don't get the same sort of pitchers don't make the same sort of difference as hitters in tournaments. But on the bigger slates, when you just have a ton of different arms that are like $6,000 to $7,000, there's a good chance a couple of them are really good plays. Yeah. When you're only talking about an 8-game slate and you only have 5 or whatever arms in that price range, it's a lot more likely that there's just not a really good play there.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. I can't change a thing there. More Darvish, though, you said at one point in time. 22% owned. That's 4th highest. He's behind Heaney. He's behind Gray. He's the most expensive pitcher on DraftKings today. How do you feel about him going up against Philadelphia?
I like him quite a bit. The park is scary because he gives up home runs. He's given up 1.77 home runs per 9 for the year. But his walk percentage has been really, really good lately. I don't know what he changed, but he clearly made some sort of adjustment. Over his first 13 starts of the season, he walked at least 10% of hitters in 10 of those 13 starts. He's made 11 starts since then. He hasn't walked more than 10% of hitters a single time. He's walked 0 hitters in 6 out of those 10 starts. It's a total of 65 and 2/3 innings over those 11 starts. He has a 31.1% strikeout percentage and a 2.7% walk percentage. So that's obviously really, really good. He's still allowed 2.1 homers per 9, but that's a lot less scary when he's not putting a bunch of extra guys on base. It is a park that is favorable for home runs. There is power at the top of this lineup, and Corey Dickerson is back, which is another power bat that doesn't strike out a lot. But it's still, I think, a pretty decent spot. Only a 4.4 implied run total here is pretty reasonable. And he's got really good strikeout stuff.
Yeah, I like him as well. Just because of his price tag, I don't even think it's going to be problematic to get north of that 22% if I need to. I think he's probably a little under-owned given where everybody else is coming in.
I don't think that on DraftKings he should be lower owned than Andrew Heaney. I like Heaney, but that's kind of tough for me.
I mean, $700 is not much, but that's obviously going to be something. I mean, what we're really looking at is the difference between facing the Phillies and facing the White Sox, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, Heaney threw 74 pitches in his first start back. So let's say he throws 85 to 90 here in a good start. I just think his upside's a little bit more capped than Darvish's.
I see what you're saying. That's a reasonable
Although
stance.
I guess Darvish doesn't go super deep into games either, so not as big of an issue.
Yeah. I prefer Heaney just because the White Sox are that much worse than Philadelphia, but
yeah,
it's close. It's really close. Speaking of the bats in this game, so the Cubs are 4th in ownership on FanDuel, 5th on DraftKings. Well, that'll probably wiggle a little bit once we get an update on ownership now that Baez is out. I absolutely love the Cubs here. They are my favorite team of the day. How do you feel about Chicago?
Yeah, I really like the Cubs too. They're a really nice combination of power, of leverage, of value. Even the really good hitters here. You have Castellanos at 4,700 on DraftKings. You have Bryant at 5K. On Yahoo, they're both expensive, 22 a piece, but they're the only two guys over $20 on Yahoo. Rizzo is exactly 20. It's just a really affordable team because you get Bryant, you get Castellanos, Rizzo's up there as well, but then Ian Happ is fairly priced. David Bodie's cheap, especially on FanDuel. He's only 2,200 batting sixth. Caratini's cheap. Almora's cheap. So it's a stack where you're not spending up at every position. You're getting a lot of power. You're getting a favorable park. And if Smiley's ownership holds how we have it projected right now, you're getting a ton of leverage.
Yeah, not to mention, Chris Bryant is the most owned guy in the DK lineup for the Cubs right now at 12%. That is not
that's
prohibitive at all.
Really low.
Right. Everybody else is below that. Castellanos at 10. Schwarber 1. Happ 1. Caratini 1. Albert Almora's ownership is going to be 1 once we get a new update. He's not leading off anymore. He's hitting 9th. So getting to a Cubs stack that is essentially unowned is going to be very, very, very easy. And when you can do that against a starting pitcher that isn't very good, but is somehow coming up with 40% of our ownership, it's a no-brainer for me. I love the Cubs. They'll be my most owned stack.
I think that makes sense.
Do you have interest in the Phillies against Darvish?
I think it's more of like mini stacks and one-offs probably.
Yeah.
It's a good pitcher, and his one issue, like I said, is that he gives up home runs. Grabbing, like a mini stack from the top 4 hitters, or just, grabbing one of the top 4 or 5 hitters, I think makes sense. But as far as full stacks go, it's tough to get to a lot of Philadelphia when you have the Cubs, you have the Yankees, you have, the Reds, you have so many teams, you have the Texas game. There are a lot of good offenses that I get to before a full Philly stack.
I'm with you. Harper and Dickerson would be the two guys I have my eye on most. Harper in particular, since they're the same price. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's a little bit better than Corey Dickerson. Otherwise, I don't see much from Philly. Good to keep it moving. Actually, favorite bat in this game? Did you hear me?
Nope.
Favorite bat in this game before we move on?
Chris Bryant.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to go him or Castellanos. So.
Yeah, I think it's a coin flip, but Bryant.
All right. Tally yourself off quickly. Reds and Cards, 5.2 run implied total for the Reds, 4.3 for the Cards, 59% chance to win for Cincy. Sonny Gray going for the Reds. Michael Wacha going for the Cards. Wacha, 2% owned on Yahoo, 1 on FanDuel, 10 on DK. Meanwhile, Gray, 39% on Yahoo, 16 on FanDuel, and 32% on DraftKings. How do you feel about your boy Sonny Gray against the Cardinals here?
I like him. I don't think it's a perfect spot. The game is in Cincinnati. The Cardinals are pretty much fully healthy now. They got Carpenter back, they got Ozuna back, they got Molina back. So that cuts down on some strikeouts. It adds a lot more power to the lineup. But there's no Chris Sale or something like that on this slate. Gray has the second highest strikeout percentage behind Darvish. He has the second highest ground ball percentage, which is something that I think really goes overlooked with him. It's really unusual to get a pitcher with an above average strikeout percentage like Gray that also is an elite ground ball pitcher. He has like a 53.5% ground ball percentage. That's pretty important when you're talking about pitching in Cincinnati. He's managed to allow less than 1 home run per 9 innings this year. So I think that puts him It makes me like him a little bit more, just knowing that he does a good job of getting ground balls when guys do put the ball in play. So not a perfect spot, but I still think that he's the best pitcher on the slate, and he's affordably priced.
Yeah, on DraftKings, he's my second favorite guy. I still prefer Heaney, but they are very, very close. On FanDuel, it's kind of a coin flip between him and Darvish. That $400 is relevant enough. I assume I just get them relatively equally. Same story on Yahoo, where they're separated by $2. I don't really have much of a case for either guy. I'm going to get to both. Likely more than the field, at least on FanDuel. I don't really assume that I'll have anybody other than Gray, Darvish, and Heaney on I can't imagine wanting to have anyone other than those 3 guys. On DraftKings, I'll take whatever Sonny Gray I can get. I think the more interesting guy to talk about right now, given the ownership for Smiley, is Michael Wacha. Do you have any interest at 5,400?
The price tag's okay, but I really don't like the park. I really think Waka's terrible, and I don't think the matchup's that good either.
Yeah.
Not a ton of strikeouts in this lineup. You do have some power in the middle, especially with Suarez and Aquino. But then, you get down like Phil Irvin has a little bit of pop. Galvis is a decent play. Iglesias doesn't really strike out. Senzel and Votto are both good. Yeah, I mean, it's really similar to Drew Smiley for me. Like, I think he's a not very good pitcher in a bad park, but he's cheap.
Would you rather have 40% Michael Wacha today when the field is at 10 or 40% Drew Smiley when the field is at 40?
Waka. Especially because he's cheaper.
If he is at 10, do you assume you're double that or more?
It really depends on how the roster construction goes. Just because I don't think it's a slate where you necessarily have to go that cheap. But I would assume that if he's 10%, I'd probably get more.
Okay. And you prefer Rodriguez to Wacha, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Just cheaper and in a better park.
Okay.
And they're all terrible.
Yeah. From a hitting perspective, neither team really picking up all that much ownership. A little bit more going to the Reds compared to the Cards. That should not be all that surprising considering the Reds don't face Sonny Gray. I don't really care to get either team as a stack, although if Sonny Gray is 32% owned on DraftKings, there are some bats on the Cardinals that become a little bit more appealing, but I don't get the sense I'm going to be stacking up much of this game. How do you feel about it?
I think I'll be getting to the Reds. I don't think I'll get to the Cardinals a lot. Matt Carpenter does stand out as a really good value across the industry, but especially on FanDuel at 2,700. Gray's been, lights out against, everyone, but lefties too. But that's a really cheap price tag on Carpenter. The Cardinals are cheap in a really good hitter's park. That's like the one appealing spot, I guess, in addition to Gray's ownership. But I just obviously think Sonny Gray's really good.
Yeah, given the makeup of this slate, and Sonny Gray just doesn't generally get absolutely waylaid. It would surprise me if the Cardinals ended up as the actual top stack on the day.
Right.
I haven't actually looked at our top stack tool to see where that stands.
I think a large, and it goes to what you said, I think a large percentage of the time where Sonny Gray fails, as in doesn't give you a useful score at $9,100, it's still like a middling outcome from the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Cardinals, actually, I don't know, 5th from the bottom in top stack percentage. That's higher than I would have expected, honestly. They're still slightly over-owned, but yeah, I just don't see them being that team today. So I'm happy to ignore them. Do you have a favorite bat in this game?
Suarez.
Okay. I'm fine with it. I'm sure Jake is too if he's listening.
For what it's worth, this season against right-handed hitters, Suarez or Waka has allowed a 409 WOBA and a 260 ISO.
Not great.
Those numbers are bad.
Yes, they are. The Atlanta Braves hosting the New York Mets. 5.4 run implied total for the Braves, 5 for the Mets. 53% chance to win for Atlanta. Julio Teheran going for the Braves. Marcus Stroman going for the Mets. Kind of forgot that Marcus Stroman was on the Mets for a second. Just assumed I made a mistake. 18% ownership going to Teheran on Yahoo, 4 on FanDuel, 13 on DraftKings. Essentially no ownership going to Stroman. I think we're probably on the same page here that neither one of us really want Stroman, but I'd rather have Stroman than Teheran.
Yeah, I kind of forgot this game was on the slate. It's just not a great matchup for either guy. Neither guy's a great strikeout pitcher. Stroman's a better actual pitcher than Teheran.
Yeah.
Has the highest ground ball percentage on the slate, which obviously is appealing, but a sub 20% strikeout percentage. And it's just really hard for someone as Stroman to be a really good play with as low a strikeout percentage as he has. And then you factor in the matchup against the Braves, obviously a tough one. So, tough to get there. Teheran's at basically the same price point. Only 2 left-handed bats in the Mets lineup with Panic and Conforto. I think that Conforto in particular is a really good play, but Teheran hasn't been good against right-handers either. He's basically just not good at all anymore. So, Ahmed Rosario, 2,500 on FanDuel leading off is pretty appealing. He, can do a lot of things that rack up fantasy points. Pete Alonso, I think, is a good play. In the context of the slate, I don't think I get to a lot of the bats here, but I could see getting to some Mets.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I get to much in this slate either. Conforto, 26% ownership on FanDuel right now, looking like a potential cash play for you. Rosario in the same sort of stance, $2,500 for a shortstop, 16% ownership. He's probably a likely option for cash games, but I think that the Mets are more likely to go crazy than the Braves. That's just not the type of game that Stroman gives up. So I don't have a ton of interest here.
Yeah, I agree that I think I prefer the Mets.
Yeah. There's not even really a Braves bat that I am interested in. Like, Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman, obviously, but in with everybody else available on the slate, just none of these guys look appealing.
Yeah, it's if you're going to the Braves, it would just be because of the talent. Yeah. But he obviously doesn't strike guys out. But in addition to that ground ball percentage that Stroman has, he's second among qualified starters this year in barrels per batted ball percentage. It's Max Fried and then Marcus Stroman at the bottom. So he just really does a good job of inducing weak contact.
Yeah. Favorite bat, Conforto?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't disagree. Halfway point, 4 games done so far. Perfect time for everyone to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up immediately after this, you will have Jake and Chris Baggs taking you up until lock, live before lock. And then tomorrow is the big day. Shows from top to bottom. The Awesemo Odds betting show will be on after the strategy show. We'll have the Yahoo specific strategy show tomorrow at 1 p.m. We'll have the deeper dive. We'll have the deep dive. Oh my God, I get these so confused. You'll be writing the deep dive. We'll be on the deeper dive, I believe. Let me make sure I get this right. Let me make sure I get this right because we're all over the place tomorrow. Jake's pulling double duty tomorrow. So if you guys are a fan of Jake, boy, is tomorrow going to be a fun day for you. Oh, you and Jake are on the deeper dive. I am on live before lock with Jake. So fun Friday.
Yeah, so I'm on the strategy show and the deep dive article and the deeper dive show, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laffy. Just kidding. Enjoy your life right now. Let's keep it moving. Lots of offense here, including the best offense, Rangers and Twins. 5.3 run implied total for the Rangers, 6.3 for the Twins. 59% chance to win for Minnesota. Pedro Payano going for the Rangers. Devin Smelter going for the Twins.
Michael Pineda.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Devin Smelter.
Nope. It was Smelter.
Okay.
Now it's Pineda.
That'll help. All right. Either way, let's just start with the Minnesota Twins here for a second. They are the number one stack in terms of ownership. They've got a ton of it. And, spoiler alert, per our top stacks tool, they're not even getting enough. How do you feel about the Twins?
I think that they're highly owned for a very good reason. They're in Texas, so great hitting conditions. No cores on this slate, so the best hitting conditions here. They're facing a pitcher in Payano who's not particularly scary. He doesn't have a lot of time in the majors this year. He has given up a ton of power to righties in particular so far, and you just have a really good Minnesota lineup. They're not cheap, but they're not super expensive either. It shouldn't be too difficult to get to, Kepler, Sano, Polanco, Rosario, any 5 of the top, 6 or 7 guys in this order. Jason Castro gives you a relatively cheap catcher option, hitting 8th with a 200 plus ISO. Just it's the Twins. They have as much power or more power than anyone in baseball. They're hitting in Texas. There's a lot to like.
Yeah, I don't know how to say a bad thing about the Twins a I understand why they are the top stack. Payano should get blasted. This is an incredible park for it. There is a never-ending supply of power in the Twins lineup. Although I will say, looks a little bit different without Cruz in the center of it. Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of the Twins. It would be really difficult for me to get away from them. I don't get the sense that I'm going to soar over that 13% number. I think I would rather get to more Cubs, just given the scenario, but you can't avoid the Twins today. Chalk, not chalk, it doesn't really matter. This is the best offensive matchup on the slate.
Yeah.
Do you have interest in Pineda? Not really getting any ownership.
No, just a really tough park. He's priced between Gray and Darvish and Heaney. Like, I'd rather just get to those guys. Obviously, he'll be lower owned than those guys, but I just don't think you're getting a favorable enough salary for him anywhere. He's the most favorable salary is Yahoo at 38, but when you consider that on Yahoo, Aaron Sanchez is 30 and Heaney's 39. It's still not that great of a price.
That works for me. Do you have any interest in Rangers bats coming back against Pineda?
Yeah, a little bit. Mazara's affordable. Calhoun has power. I think Odor is a really good value. Second base isn't the best position today. He is hitting seventh, which is unfortunate. But I think that the left-handed, power in general against Pineda is good, but you got some pretty cheap lefty power with Mazara and Odor in particular.
It's another one of those spots where per steamer, they don't have a projected weighted runs created plus north of 100. Every single hitter in the Rangers lineup is in theory below average. Although,
even Mazara
98. So it makes it sound more extreme when I say it out loud, but I don't get the sense that I'll get to much Rangers. They're getting a little bit more ownership than I would have expected. The implied total looks great. I'd be happy to have a few shares of Mazara, but Texas doesn't seem like they're going to be that team for me today. Who is your favorite Twins bat in this game?
It's either Rosario or Kepler.
Yeah, it's Kepler for me. The first four guys in the Twins lineup, Kepler, Sano, Polanco, Rosario, are all north of or at 30 or higher in ownership on Yahoo, with CJ Cron coming in at 26 right behind it. That is one chalky stack. They are making up, this might be the highest number I've ever seen, 25% of the aggregate ownership on Yahoo.
Wow.
That is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. I don't even know what to do with that sort of information. There's just so much ownership. And yet, let's see. Okay, they are slightly over-owned, which you would come to expect, but
yeah.
There's not a piece of this Twins lineup that I don't want. I mean, Luis Arias is terrible, but from a
he's not even terrible.
DFS,
he doesn't have power.
Right. Terrible for what I want out of him,
right.
But he's 8% owned, and that'll help. I don't have anything else for this game. Just play them because Pedro Payano is bad, and the Twins should put up a lot of runs.
Yep.
Q Twins scoring one run at the 940 mark tonight.
All right, yeah, it's still baseball, but
right,
it's clearly a really good spot.
Alrighty, 3 more to go here. Diamondbacks and Giants. 5.2 run implied total for the Diamondbacks. 4.2 for the Giants. It's a 60% chance to win for Arizona. Alex Young going for the D-backs. Derek Rodriguez going for the Giants. Rodriguez getting 17% ownership on DK at 4,800. Alex Young actually at 11% on the 2 pitcher sites. Let's start with Young. Does he look appealing to you at 8,100 on DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm actually interested in him because it's a good pitcher's park. He's got a favorable matchup against the Giants, who aren't a very good team offensively. Not a ton of strikeouts, but he's got decent strikeout stuff. In the majors so far, he struck out 20.7%, but his numbers at AAA were a bit better. And it's just that, when you look at the pitchers around Young in salary, you have Tehran facing the Mets, you have Stroman facing the Braves. I think I would rather get to Young in this matchup against the Giants than be messing with either of those guys in their respective matchups.
I don't get the sense that I'm going to get to him.
I don't know that I get to a lot of him. I just think that he's fine.
I don't know. I really don't know how to hash out that tier that he is in with Ronaldo Lopez and Stroman to a lesser extent. Tehran, I guess, is there in a similar way. I don't know. 11% seems about right to me on this slate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Derek Rodriguez, $4,800 on DraftKings. 17% ownership is honestly not all that high in comparison to the rest of the slate. He's the 5th most owned guy. That's not really anything crazy on an 8-game slate. What do you feel like? How do you feel about 17% ownership on Derek Rodriguez?
I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think he's a high upside play. I don't think that he comes through all that often, but it's just so hard to fail when you're $4,800. And it's obviously purely a DraftKings play because he's not in the Yahoo player pool and you're not rostering him on FanDuel. But it's just really, really difficult to fail at that price tag. Most of the time, he's going to just give you a score that doesn't help you, except for the fact that he saved you so much salary and let you get better bats and a better SP1. occasionally he'll have a good game just because it's baseball and that can happen. He is fully stretched out. He threw 101 pitches in his most recent AAA start, which is really good to see. But I mean, like for the season in the majors, he has a 5.13 xFIP, which is obviously really bad. Drew Smiley's is 5.14. I just don't really know why I'm paying $1,800 more for a more popular Drew Smiley in a worse park against the better offense.
Yeah, I think the answer will be that you're not.
Yeah.
And I will have a very similar answer. I get a lot of Derek Rodriguez on days where I don't want him, so I can't even imagine what's going to happen on a day where I do. It's going to be bad. Not a guy that I want to hang up my hopes to. But I think the most interesting piece of this entire game is what I'm about to talk about now. The Arizona Diamondbacks have the second most ownership on DraftKings. How do you feel
really
about
weird.
that? How do you feel about that? Whoa, is this real?
What?
That would be a really, really weird thing for this guy in YouTube chat to just say, but just said that Dale Earnhardt Jr. died in a plane crash.
Oh, wow.
But that'd be a really weird thing to make up.
Yeah.
So, wow, true.
Wow.
Wait, no, survive. Wait, they're alive.
Oh,
They were in a plane crash. They are not dead.
that's good.
And honestly, judging from the picture I see, kind of surprised. So, congrats to Dale Earnhardt Jr. for not being dead from a plane crash. Sorry, you see that, kind of crazy. Still alive. Go Dale Jr.
Wow, yeah, that plane's not in good shape.
No. I mean, anytime I hear plane crash, I don't assume that it landed clean, but
Yeah.
okay, let's talk Diamondbacks now. So Josh Rojas is at 20% ownership, 3K on DraftKings. I understand that one. Nobody else is really getting a ton of ownership, but still.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing's really nice. I guess like if you're looking to play 2 out of 3 of Darvish, Gray, and Heaney, this is one of the teams you can get to. They have a 5.5 implied run total. They're facing a bad pitcher. Rojas is really cheap. Peralta's underpriced. Walker has power. Lamb's cheap. I understand why they're getting ownership. I just don't think that. I think it's pretty unlikely they come through, that they're the highest scoring team often enough to justify the ownership they're getting.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if Rodriguez were getting the Smiley ownership, I'd have a little bit more interest, but he's not. I think Arizona is. I have very, very little interest in Arizona as a stack here. This is going to be one of my easier fades of the day. I want to take a look at them on top stacks. Guys, calm down on freaking out on the guy that mentioned that. If I saw the words Dale Earnhardt Jr. and plane crash, I'd assume he died too.
Yeah.
The guy's not taking a big leap there. That tends to happen. Arizona is... Yeah, so they are one of the more over-owned teams on the top stacks tool, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I think that they have a lot of good point per dollar projections. But it's one of the least favorable parks for hitters on the slate. The Giants do have a good bullpen behind Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't get the Arizona ownership. I might have none.
So, related to Arizona, Connor Kirkin, who does work for, I think, Pitcher List, tweeted the other day that there's one player since like the start of May or something with at least 250 plate appearances that has like a slugging percentage over, I don't know, 600 or 500 or something, and has been like above average defensively. Did you see it, or do you know who it is?
I have no idea.
Carson Kelly has been playing absolutely amazing.
Nope. No idea. I could not have known that any less.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I looked it up, and it was nowhere near who I would have guessed, obviously. But, yeah, he's actually been really good this year.
And yet, I will have 0. Will you have any Giants? I think they're the worst team on the slate.
Yeah, I'll say I think they're probably they're up there with the White Sox for me.
Yeah. All right, before we keep going, and before we talk about whether or not Dale Earnhardt Jr. is alive, we got to talk plugs. And this one I'm going to put up on the screen for you guys so you can see it. We have to
talk.
What?
We have to talk about what?
I'm plugging our giveaway
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. I had my volume like too low.
Gotcha. So we're having a monstrous giveaway. And I've got it up on the screen right now. We have a pinned tweet. If you go to the Awesemo_com Twitter handle, you could check it out. But if you retweet this tweet, like it, and reply with a player that stands out to you in the NFL rankings and projections that Alex has recently put out. We've got season-long rankings and projections right now. You guys should be checking that stuff out. Go to awesemo.com for more details. But all you have to do is find what stands out to you. Somebody too high, somebody too low. Retweet, like, and reply to that tweet. You need to be following the Awesemo_com account. You need to be following the Awesemo NFL account. This all needs to be done by August 19th. On August 20th, we will pick 10 random winners. If you are a member at that time of Awesemo and you have an Awesemo Plus membership, you can win a 30-minute coaching session from Alex. You don't normally get that sort of stuff. That is very valuable to be able to pick the brain of the number one player in the world. I highly recommend you do this. It should take no more than a minute of your time, and you have a chance to win not only just a month of Awesemo Plus, but if you're already a sub, you get a chance to win a 30-minute coaching session. Check it out. Go to Twitter handle, Awesemo_com for more details. It is our pinned tweet as of right now. And hopefully I win. I can use that coaching session. I'm kidding. I can't win. Can't win if you're part of the company. And I'll just DM Alex anyway. 2 games to go. Angels and White Sox. This is going to be a biggie. This might take a little bit. 5-run implied total for the Angels, 4 for the White Sox, 60% chance to win for LA. Andrew Heaney going for the Angels, Ronaldo Lopez going for the White Sox. Here's the ownership on Andrew Heaney. He is $39 on Yahoo. He is projected for 51% ownership. He is 6,400 on FanDuel. He's projected for 39% ownership. That might be the highest ownership I've ever seen on a pitcher on FanDuel for an 8-game slate. He is 31% owned on DraftKings at $9K. Let's start with DraftKings because I think that we're going to be both obviously in agreement on FanDuel. How do you feel about Andrew Heaney on DK today?
I think he's a really good play. I think he's really comparable to Gray and Darvish. I don't think he's as good as either of them, but he does have good strikeout stuff. He's at about 26.5% for the season, and he has the best matchup out of the group facing the White Sox. So I understand why he's getting the ownership. He is making his second start since coming back from the injured list. He threw 74 pitches against the Red Sox in his first start. So I haven't seen any pitch limit confirmed, but I would assume he's throwing around 90, assuming he pitches well. I think he's a good pitcher. I think the price tag's fair. I think the matchup's really good. I don't know that I like him more than Gray or Darvish.
Okay. I think that's a reasonable stance to take, given the salaries, given sort of where Heaney has been this season, and just working his way back. How do you feel about that 30% number? Do you assume you're in that ballpark, or do you assume he gets pinched out because of the other two guys?
I think I'll probably be around there.
Okay.
I'm not looking on the slate to take a stand against Andrew Heaney.
Okay. We're on the same page there. Antoine Murphy says Fires is greater than Heaney. Don't at me. You probably should just head out now. On FanDuel, I can't imagine we're in disagreement here. At 6,400, he is just priced preposterously.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would do differently with him on FanDuel, given the price and given his ownership? By the way, Joey Votto scratched.
So that makes
Josh Van Meter in.
Still not a great spot for Waka.
Agreed.
On FanDuel, I'd be fine just kind of eating that. It's so hard for him to fail at 6,400.
And that is what I said earlier today. You're never going to find a guy with that sort of talent level and that sort of matchup level. The strikeout talent and matchup at 6,400. Like, it just doesn't... You don't see that without actual errors. I'm very interested. I assume I will have, at the minimum, the same as the field, and there's not really a limit to what I would have a problem taking. As long as I can still get, some exposure to Sonny Gray and Yu Darvish, I hope that the rest of it goes to Andrew Heaney, and I don't even bother with the rest of these goons.
Right. And the other thing is, not only is he clearly underpriced, but again, the two, ace pitchers on the slate are Gray and Darvish. So the opportunity cost just isn't as high as if we had, a Sale Verlander slate.
Exactly. I mean, right now, Alex has Andrew Heaney 0.4 of a point behind Sonny Gray and 1 full point behind Yu Darvish. He is $3,000 cheaper than both of those guys. Even if you think that is way too tight, 6,400 is just a price that you cannot pass on, in my opinion. Right. Especially for a guy with his strikeout stuff. Wherever we think Heaney really is working his way back, strikeouts have never really been a problem for him. So, do you have any interest in Ronaldo Lopez?
Not really. The Angels are, a tough matchup. He's been decent lately, but overall he still struggles with home runs. He's I don't know. He's okay, I guess, but I'd rather get to the Angels. Goodwin's in the lineup over Calhoun, but you still have, two good you have Ohtani, who's a great left-handed bat. Goodwin, has some pop. Mike Trout obviously is great. Upton has power. Fletcher doesn't strike out. Then you get into some, pretty questionable guys, but Lopez's strikeout percentage is much lower against lefties as well. So, maybe not great matchups against Matt Dice or Rengifo. Tovar is not a high strikeout guy. Stassi is. So, I can see mixing him in a little bit just because it's not like he's substantially worse than Alex Young or Stroman or Tehran from a DFS perspective. But I just I don't love it.
White Sox bats not really getting all that much ownership. Angels, outside of Trout and Ohtani, not really getting much. Do you prefer either team? Like, do the White Sox righty bats stand out to you at all against Heaney?
I wouldn't say stand out. They are really cheap. I wish you could play McCann and Castillo in the same lineup, but that middle of the order is pretty appealing, especially at their salaries. Tim Anderson shortstop's not a great position. You're going to get a lot of ownership going to Didi at 4,400 on DraftKings, as we had mentioned earlier. Yeah. Tim Anderson makes for a pretty, appealing tournament pivot there. Abreu's affordable. You can go to either one of McCann or Castillo. Jimenez has a ton of power. You can definitely, stack the White Sox comfortably and get Gray, Darvish, and good one-offs. So that's, kind of appealing, but it's not a spot that I would want to be like getting the tons of because it's just not going to work that often.
Yeah, I don't mind in the non-Heaney lineups having guys like Abreu and Eloy Jimenez as one-off because that's the most appealing piece of this, and they're not getting all that much ownership. Let's
say one-offs and mini stacks is the most appealing part for me.
Yeah, and Heaney does put people on with the walks. If two guys get on Eloy Jimenez, I get the alert for an Eloy Jimenez 3-run home run. That is not going to be shocking to me.
Not at all.
That said, can't get away from Heaney on FanDuel. Do you have anything else in this game?
No. Just to reiterate, I really like Shohei Ohtani.
4,600 on DraftKings, 3,500 on FanDuel, $19 on Yahoo. Double-digit exposure on all three sites. Can't disagree. Final game. A's and Astros. 4.9 run implied total for the A's, 5.1 for the Stros, 53% chance to win for Houston. The ridiculously priced Mike Fiers going for Oakland. Aaron Sanchez going for the Astros. I assume you're going to have like 100% Aaron Sanchez since he's an Astros pitcher?
I'm so torn on what to do with him because I obviously think he's going to be better than he was with Toronto. You can already see it, over his first couple of starts. He, according to Brooks Baseball, and the number does vary by site because of how they classify pitches, but according to Brooks, he didn't throw a single two-seam fastball in his first start. He threw it 13% of the time in his second start against Baltimore. That's obviously down from his time in Toronto. He's throwing his four-seam fastball more. He's throwing his curveball more. Both of those are good things. Both of those should lead to more strikeouts for Sanchez and just more effectiveness overall. But it's not like you have to keep in mind that, for one, those are both really, really good strikeout matchups against Seattle and Baltimore. And it's not like from a plate discipline standpoint, he went out and dominated in those games. He put up good swinging strike numbers, but it wasn't anything special when you consider the matchup. And then now you're getting an Oakland team that's much more difficult to strike out than either of those teams. They have more good hitters than those teams. And then while this is a good park for run prevention, it's not an ideal park for strikeouts because of all the foul territory. So I think Sanchez is a fine play because he's reasonably priced. He's not worse than any of the guys priced around him. The matchup is okay when you factor in the ballpark. But I'm not anywhere near as excited for him today as I was against the Mariners or the Orioles.
I would love to see him like $400 cheaper, where it feels like a really easy pivot to Smiley. But $1,100 is a lot. I would rather just pivot in a different direction then. But if he were comparably priced to Smiley, I'd be really curious to see how that ownership played out.
Yep.
You want to talk about Mike Fiers at all?
Nope.
Completely unowned.
I mean, so if I had to make an argument for Mike Fiers, and I'm not doing this because I expect for it to be something that I do, but the pitching on this slate is so bad, or not even bad. It's unappealing from a DFS standpoint. Like, there's not mid-range guys with great strikeout stuff in good spots. So the guys that seem to be high upside pitchers are Darvish, Gray, and Heaney. And they're going to get tons of ownership, as they should. You can get the same exact roster construction with Mike Fiers. Hope that he somehow pulls something together. But I think it's just way easier to be contrarian with bats and to roster the pitchers in good spots that are good.
This season, Fiers with a 188 x ISO to righties. It's a 217 x ISO to righties if you include last season. That is just essentially against average right-handers. It's the aggregate of all of his righties. The right-handers in the Astros lineup today: George Springer, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Yuli Gurriel. We'll skip Martin Maldonado for this one. Those guys are a little bit better than the aggregate of what Mike Fiers normally sees. This could be troublesome. The only saving grace is that it's in Oakland.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only... What about Darryl Strawberry today? Triple down. Was he in the jail softball league?
What?
I don't know. I shouldn't talk smack about Darryl Strawberry. He's one of my best friend's favorite players of all time. So.
He's one of your best friend's favorite players?
One of my best friends, Darryl Strawberry, is his number one baseball player of all time.
Okay.
Dude, Mike Fiers is going to get shellacked today.
I don't even know that that's the case. I just don't think he scores a lot of fantasy points.
Is today the day that Mike Fiers throws one of those stupid Mike Fiers no-hitters?
Right. That was basically the argument I was making for rostering him. Like, Mike Fiers can throw a no-hitter.
Yeah. This is... The ballpark is everything to him right now. We might see a lot of barreled ball lineouts.
The Astros pricing is pretty affordable. I think that the ballpark clearly was taken into account.
Yeah, I mean, Yordan Alvarez 5,400. Everybody else is below 5K. You're not having trouble fitting in any single one of these bats. And no one is getting that much ownership. Springer at 13% is the highest number. Everybody is in single digits on FanDuel. They're fourth in ownership on DraftKings, but they are 11th on FanDuel. Now, they're a little bit more costly on FanDuel, but that is also not problematic with Andrew Heaney on the slate.
Right.
And you don't have to get to 5. You only have to get to 4. I love the Astros on FanDuel today just because of their lack of ownership. I'll take my chances on that, betting on talent today, especially with Heaney, because you can roster Andrew Heaney and whatever 4 Astros you want and figure it out after that.
Yep.
Do you have any interest in A's bats?
Not particularly. Chapman's cheap, Olsen's cheap, Davis is cheap. So I could see, maybe getting to those guys as one-offs or mini stacks. But I think that there's enough value bats on the slate that aren't hitting in Oakland and aren't facing what should be a pretty good pitcher in Sanchez and a good Houston bullpen. I don't think I get to a lot.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I will either. And they're not getting all that much ownership. Matt Chapman, 10% on DraftKings is the highest number that I see. Actually, he's at 12 on Yahoo as well. But I don't have anything else here. So 8 games up, 8 games down. Robert Pena in YouTube chat thinks you look like CJ Crone.
Someone else has said that too.
Yeah.
We have the same birthday also.
Really?
Yeah, if I remember right.
How old is he? Same age?
Yeah.
Secretly twins?
If I remember it, January 5th, 1990. We have the same birthday.
Yo, I don't think you look alike. I think I can understand how people say it.
Yeah, no, I can see the resemblance. But
what are the chances that you were separated at birth from your twin brother, CJ Crone?
He is 6'4", and I'm 5'7", so low.
He went to high school in Phoenix, Arizona.
I do have family in Arizona, but I didn't when I was born.
Born in Fullerton, California.
was not born in California.
Did you guys hang out at all at the University of Utah?
No.
Okay. Best I can do. Top stacks, and then we'll get out of here.
I mean the Twins, but that's kind of cheating.
Yeah.
I like Cincinnati, and I like the Cubs.
Yeah. Cubs for me, with a number one with a bullet. So long as we don't see Smiley's ownership go from 42% to 10 or something. But even if it does, I still like the Cubs. And I have probably a lot more interest in the Indians today than most people. And then, as you said, the Twins, obviously looking fantastic. Another YouTube quote that I will save for post-show for you. Guys, thank you for joining us. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Check out the pinned tweet at awesemo_com if you want to have the opportunity to win a giveaway with very little effort. All you have to do is go to awesemo_com as a Twitter handle. Follow the instructions. Live before lock coming up next. Jake Hari, Chris Spags taking you up to 7:05. That is it for us. Adam, anything else?
Nope.
Adios, everybody. Man, a few words. We'll talk to you later.